Welcome back to Rev Endurance Sports, and this is more of a reaction video to the comments that are being left on my videos. And it's this comments about my Ritchey, because they know I'm a huge Ritchey fan. They know I'm a huge steel bike fan. But I want to address them as opposed to just in comments to the wider audience that views my videos. And I'm going to give you an analogy, and I hope that this makes sense to you. I apologize for the aircraft, but we do have an airport about 3 miles from here. Here's the analogy. 2 hammers. One is a rubber mallet, one is a ball peen hammer. They are both hammers. But each one of them is a much better tool for a job. Maybe you want that rubber mallet to pound something in that you don't want to damage. Maybe you need the ball peen hammer to drive in a 9-inch nail. They're both hammers. They both would do the job, but one would do it much better than the other. So with that in mind, let's talk about this for a second. So what I want you to do is I want you to look at these 2 bikes. And just for yourself, think about it. Just for a second. If you were doing 187 miles and there was fewer than 3,000 feet of climbing, which one do you think is a much more aero bike? Which one do you think would give you a much better aero advantage at 25, 28 miles per hour? Now here's the thing. I love my Ritchey. It is a fantastic riding bike. It is quite possibly one of the best steel bikes in general out there, let alone that it's only about a $1,300 frame. I mean, this thing is an amazing bike. And I think of my friend Lewis Scott in Florida, and I know he likes his Italian Bianchi steel bikes, but Luis, if you could ever get your hands on one of these bikes, they are amazing. And I think because they are more of a modern steel bike, you would find this just a fantastic bike. Okay, so just look at these 2 bikes. You have aero frame, aero wheels, aero cockpit. Of course, it's a little bit muddy with the light hanging off of there, but you know, this Bianchi is the proper tool for the job. At the Desert 300K that we did, it is, because it's much more aero, it's just a better tool. What I need to do is find, I think Ride with GPS does it. The data on the Ride with GPS, it breaks it up and it shows you how long you spent at each mile per hour, and I believe it's in like maybe a 2 to 3 mile increment. And you'll see that we spent an enormous amount of time over 20 miles per hour. I think the first Century was a almost 23 mile per hour average speed. So when you're riding that fast for that long, aero matters. Let's go back over to the Ritchey. It's a very classic and timeless design. Round tube frames provide a lot more comfort than, let's say, shaped tubes. The shaped tubes are going to give you rigidity, but you don't ride steel bikes because of their rigidity. You ride them for their ride quality. So a round tube frame, and in any aerodynamic study, you will know that round tube frames, round tube frames, or a round tube, is not as aero as a teardrop or a NACA shaped tube. So, you know, the low profile wheels. Oh, and I mentioned this in a different video. These wheels that you see both on the Ritchey and also on the Bianchi, both of these wheels, and I'm going to walk over to the bike, have the same rim, and they just put a fairing on it. So you still have that long spoke on that 60 millimeter wheel set. You still have the same long spoke, which is providing enormous amount of comforts. So you don't have a short stubby spoke. This spoke goes all the way to the rim, and that's why these wheels are so comfortable. You get the aluminum brake track, you get the textured brake track, you get the long spoke, and you get aero. You get it all in this wheel set, in these head jet black. Now, funny thing is, so today's Friday, tomorrow's the 200 miler. On Thursday, I was out doing a ride, and I got a phone call from someone, and they said, oh, so I'm looking at the head Ardennes, you know, is it really worth the extra $300, $400 for the Black Series? And I said, absolutely, unequivocally, yes. The black with the textured brake track is worth the upgrade from the standard smooth aluminum track. So if you look at this wheel set, I said, hey, I'm riding them right now. I said to him on the phone in the middle of my ride. Now, what followed after that was, well, you know, for $1,400, I'm also looking at carbon wheel sets. My response to him was, why are you even looking at carbon wheels? Carbon clincher wheels, they're just not good, people. Please don't ride them. They delaminate. They need special brake pads. They're terrible in the wet. They have terrible braking in both dry and wet, but downright dangerous in wet. And if you ride a rim brake bike, which is what this conversation is about, you got to go with an aluminum brake track and a textured brake track. All right, so let's get back to the questions of, because I've seen them several now. Oh, so you chose, why didn't you ride the Ritchey? I'm surprised, it was 187 miles. Wouldn't you want the comfort? Well, I was only going to be on the bike for about 10 hours, 10 and a half hours. So comfort wasn't important. Speed, aerodynamics was important. As I mentioned, I complemented the bike with an aero road helmet, a skin suit. I had toe booties. So it was a complete package, because we need to keep one thing in mind, and I think some people might lose sight of this. The bike isn't everything, right? Your body is the largest proportion of the aerodynamic drag that you are going to encounter. So, I mean, I've seen studies up to 80% is your body, your head, your shoulders, this kind of stuff, and the bike is maybe 20%. But if you can enhance that 20% by something you already own, why not ride it? This is like the 5th time that car's gone by. I'm in my industrial parking lot, and the same car keeps going by. But yeah, I mean, I already own a Bianchi XR4. Why wouldn't I ride it? So that was last Saturday, and then this Saturday is 200 miles, and it's only about 11,500 feet. So again, that's not a lot of climbing for a double century here in Southern California. We have double centuries of 15, 16, 18, 20,000 feet in 200 miles. So there is a long stretch of road that is flat in both directions. We have to redo the same road because there's no other way. Camp Pendleton Marine Corps base is there, so you have to ride the freeway, and there's a campground, so it's like, I think it's at least 20 miles, but it's even longer. And then there's a bike path that we're on that's another 8 miles. I mean, it's at least 30 miles in each direction that's flat, so that's about 60 miles out of 200. Anyway, I hope that helps. And please, if there's more questions, drop them down below. Let's keep talking about it. But you know, at speeds of excess of 25, 28 miles per hour, yeah, aero does matter. I think a lot of the studies are made at 40K, which is about 25 miles per hour. If you're putzing along at 15 miles per hour, jibber jabbering with your friends, aero doesn't matter all that much. If you're doing a 20,000 foot climbing day and you're spending a lot of time at 6 to 8 miles per hour going uphill, again, aero won't matter as much. So yeah, there's a difference. So the proper tool for the proper job, and in this case, the Bianchi XR4 gets the nod. Okay, thank you so much for tuning in. Please like and subscribe, and we will see you up the road.